And Catherine, what is the European approach to jobless claims? And do you think a model like that could be coming here?
So the really interesting component is every country is doing it in a different way. And that's kind of a bit of a problem, frankly. And that's why we're seeing so much haste on the European side, meaning to say in Brussels, through Brussels, to try to come up with something that would be a sort of an intra-European mechanism. I think the most generous countries right now that are trying to shore up their labor market certainly are Germany and Denmark. Germany has a scheme that it has built over time. It has a rainy day fund of about 26 billion euros to shore up particularly labor markets through a very specifically German scheme called short work, which is to say that the government covers about 60%, 67% if you have a child of the income you're not making or you're being reduced from making through your corporations. And the idea is, similar idea in Denmark too, is that you're going to reduce the costs for hiring or rehiring if you were to lay people off.
Right.
So it's the idea that you're going to support both your workers so that you create worker fidelity, if you will, to companies. You're going to let companies come back, get back online faster. And the country is going to shoulder the burden for that. And now estimates go, it's going to eat up probably half of that rainy day fund. But that's something that the German government put in place after the financial crisis.
Yeah, and like you said, a lot of people said Germany bounced back rapidly from the crisis because of this short work system. But I wonder if it comes at the cost of flexibility. I mean, the real reason that they have it is because in Germany, it's really hard to lay people off. It's a very highly regulated labor market. Do we really want America to be going down that road?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, you're not going to get the same situation in the United States as you are in Germany or even in Europe. We have a totally different system of sort of social welfare and transfer payments. For the German economy, of course, that makes sense because if you think about what are the bulk items in the German economy, they're machine building, they're automobiles, they're big time manufacturing jobs. And even as we look ahead around like what could the next 3 months of recovery post reopening in about 2 to 3 months look like? The sectors that are likely going to benefit are going to be able to come back online are those sectors. Service economies like the UK or even large parts of the United States are going to be hit much harder because of the percentage that services are in this economy or the UK, for instance.
Steve, let me ask you what lasting changes you think we might experience to the way that we do jobless benefits in this country from first the financial crisis and now the pandemic.
Yeah, well, first of all, I just want to say I actually went over to Germany and did a story on this Kurzarbeit, which is this shortened work week. And I don't think there's anything about implementing this in a downturn that would limit flexibility. I guess it would limit flexibility of workers to move to another sector on the way back. But the question becomes, in a downturn, if you want them to remain attached to their existing workplace and ease the burden of rehiring them and get a quicker start. So that's one question. I think, Kelly, that we're going to rethink our entire social safety net system. You see what's happening now. Even the astonishing numbers that we have on jobless claims are low because of the inability of states to process them. The unemployment claims is our first line of defense out here. Congress had to raise that amount, and there's a debate about how much it raised it. There's a debate about whether or not the Fed should have to come in. This is the second time around, Kelly. The Fed has had to come in and completely backstop the financial system, although, of course, the banks are doing better now, but other parts of the system are not. So I think when we have a chance to catch our breath, we're going to go back and take a look at the social safety net, take a look at what the Fed's proper role here is, and why, once again, it has to come in and backstop the financial system.
Catherine, what do you think, if we're in the luxury of being able to pluck what works and chuck what doesn't, what should we pluck here in the U.S. for the future?
Well, I do think that it's critical to have some sort of backstop, some sort of employment backstop is absolutely critical because, again, what are the costs? And we've already alluded to it. What are the costs of rehiring? Those are enormous, right? Rehiring, retraining, repositioning within the economy. And we in the United States don't have a full, sort of comprehensive view of what that actually means and how that might further derail or slow down economic growth in this country. So to have that sort of backstop, I think long term, because again, we're going to inevitably face some version of global shock as we go forward. And we need to restore trust within our financial systems. And one way to do that is to have that insurance policy, but then also to work in two different directions. We already talked about it. We need that medical solution. But again, we need to ensure that our companies can get back to work. And the way to do that is to offer those backstops and to do it through the government.
And before I let you go, Steve, since you kind of said there that we need to rethink our entire social safety net system, what else are you hearing that might be part of that rethink?
Well, I mean, look at what the Fed is trying to do right now. It's trying to create this Main Street lending facility, and I've been reporting on this all day. A series of enormous challenges to the Federal Reserve, both from the stipulations in the CARES Act, but also that kind of conflict with the Fed's general way of operating, which is not to take losses. Who will backstop Main Street? Who will backstop private business in these situations? What's a way to get this money out more quickly to the to individuals and help them out in the event of a sudden shock like this? I think there's a lot of things to think about here. I do think we're doing pretty good given the state of the system before we went into this.
All right. Thank you both. We appreciate it. Steve Liesman, Cathryn Cluver, Ashbrook.